Have you ever noticed how sometimes an idea seems to travel across the entire planet in an instant? Millions of people suddenly begin to think the same way, defend the same causes, repeat the same phrases, and grow indignant about the same things. This phenomenon seems spontaneous, almost organic, but it isn't. Behind this collective movement hides a subtle force, an invisible engineering that shapes our emotions, our desires, and our thoughts. We live in an age where manipulation is no longer visible. It doesn't shout, it doesn't strike, it seeps in softly, with the precision of a surgeon and the gentleness of a caress. So much so that we no longer even notice when our emotions are being steered. What we believe to be our most personal opinions are often only the echoes of a great collective choir. When an individual enters a group, something strange happens. Little by little, their autonomous thinking fades. That small inner voice that questions, doubts, reflects, becomes a muffled whisper. In its place, a collective force emerges, one that thinks, feels, and acts for them. The individual collapses into a larger organism, a mass mind, ruled not by reason but by instinct. This shift is almost imperceptible. We always believe we are in control, and yet the crowd laughs, rages, cries, and attacks in unison. Each person feels free, when in truth they are merely a cell within a vast collective body. And that body does not reason, it reacts. This transformation finds its roots in a deeply human need: to belong, to be accepted, not rejected. That need is so vital it can sweep away even our most deeply held convictions. An individual who would never dare commit a violent act alone can, within a crowd, become destructive. Responsibility dissolves. The ego disappears. It's no longer me acting, it's us. And when everyone does it, it must be right, mustn't it? Thus is born collective morality, a thoughtless morality that replaces individual conscience. A morality often more primitive, more emotional, more dangerous. And the most fascinating part is that most who take part in it don't even notice the change. They still believe they are thinking for themselves. But from the outside, we see thousands of voices speaking the same words, defending the same ideas with the same emotions, as if a single brain pulsed through millions of minds. This observation is not new. As early as the 19th century, the thinker Gustave Le Bon studied it. He realized that when a crowd forms, the intelligence of each individual diminishes. Individuals do not add up to become wiser. They subtract from one another. The crowd behaves like a primitive organism, impulsive, instinctive. Le Bon identified three key mechanisms. First, mental unity. Everyone thinks and feels in unison. Second, emotional contagion. Emotions spread at lightning speed like a psychic epidemic. Third, loss of individuality. A person ceases to be responsible because they feel merged into the whole. These three elements form the basis of mass psychology, and those who understand these laws can lead the crowd without it ever realizing it. It's not about persuading through reason. It's about reaching the instinct. A single image, a repeated word, an intense emotion outweighs 1,000 arguments. Dictators, propagandists, advertisers, and social engineers of the 20th century understood this better than anyone. They learned to manipulate the masses with scientific precision. One of them, Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew, grasped a crucial insight. If you can't reason with people, you can direct their desires. He turned propaganda into a science. He didn't seek to convince but to associate products or ideas with emotional symbols. A cigarette became an act of freedom. Bacon became a sign of health. The masses believed they were choosing. In truth, they were being led. These techniques evolved. Today they blend with technology, algorithms, omnipresent screens. Suggestions no longer come from a speaker or a slogan, but from a constant stream of images, notifications, and messages calibrated to penetrate our emotions. Suggestion acts like a gentle hypnosis. The more a message is repeated with intensity, the truer it becomes, no matter its logic. Through sheer repetition, critical thinking falls asleep. Thus, a collective trance takes shape. People go on living, working, loving. But inside, they function on autopilot. Their opinions no longer belong to them. Their fears have been installed, their desires programmed, and they defend all of it passionately, convinced they are free. But this manipulation requires a second pillar to endure: the enemy. Because emotion without a target quickly fades. So one is created, a group, an ideology, a social category. It doesn't matter who. What matters is that it's clear, visible, and hateable. Once an enemy is named, the world becomes simpler. There are the good and the evil, the enlightened and the ignorant, us and them. This dichotomy comforts. It gives meaning. It creates belonging. And while the crowds clash, the real structures of power remain intact. The elites don't fight, they watch. Division is their greatest ally. This mechanism, refined by modern media, has reached terrifying perfection. In just a few hours, a new controversy can be born, explode, and destroy reputations. A single misinterpreted word, an unpopular opinion. And the digital mob descends, hungry for justice. This collective rage feeds the system. It keeps people engaged, distracted, and above all, divided. Meanwhile, another transformation is unfolding: the falsification of reality. Jean Baudrillard predicted it. We no longer see the world, only representations of the world. Selected, edited, filtered images. What we call reality is often an emotional construction shaped by those who control the narrative. The media no longer merely report facts. They manufacture them. Every word, every frame, every silence is chosen to provoke a specific emotion: fear, anger, hope, shame. Because a strong emotion paralyzes thought, the image becomes truer than reality. You may forget the numbers, but not the photo of a crying child, not the video of an angry crowd. These images pierce the consciousness, bypass reason, and etch themselves into memory. And when the same emotion is repeated 1,000 times across screens, it becomes a truth. The more a message is repeated, the more real it seems. This is the illusory truth effect. If everyone says it, it must be true. If I see it everywhere, it must be important. The message no longer needs logic, not only omnipresence, and thus manufactured reality is born. A reality where fear becomes profitable, anger becomes viral, and division becomes a product. Escaping this hypnosis doesn't happen by shouting louder than others. It begins with silence, by reclaiming our attention, that rare resource everyone wants to capture. Consciously choosing where we place our gaze, what we read, what we listen to, what we believe. But thinking alone is not enough. Humans cannot live in isolation. That's why we must rebuild real connections, living communities grounded in trust and presence, where conversations aren't battles to win but exchanges to understand, where differences aren't threats but sources of perspective. A conscious society is not born of perfect individuals, but of imperfect beings capable of speaking sincerely. As long as we keep shouting in this digital noise, we remain prisoners of the new Babel, that virtual tower where everyone speaks but no one listens. True rebellion today is not in the noise, it is in listening, in slowness, in clarity. Freedom is not about thinking differently from others, but about thinking for oneself. And that no algorithm, no propaganda, no crowd can ever take from us. If we decide here and now to awaken,